What's up YouTube? This is going to be your guide on how to use Dragapult in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'll be providing competitive movesets and some fun meme movesets too. If there's a Pokemon you'd like to see me cover, put it below in the comment section. If you enjoy this, if that's helped you out, drop a like on the video and let's get into it. So Dragapult is an extremely versatile Pokemon that can do so many different roles. There's probably quite a few movesets we're going to go over today. Firstly, let's have a look at its stats. So we got a nice attack stat, pretty decent special attack stat, and a blistering speed stat of 142, which is really, really good. It's going to help out a lot of the sets that you can use it for. Now, as I mentioned, this Pokemon can be a physical attacker, a special attacker. It can be support as well. So it can do many, many different roles. So the first set we're going to have a look at here is going to be like a choice band set, which is used a lot on Dragapult. It definitely makes sense due to some of the moves it's got. So we'll have a look at a choice band set, and then we're going to have a look like maybe like a pivot set and a mix attacker too. So obviously a great move, Dragon Darts. You've got 2 hits. That can break a sub, it can break any sort of sash. It's very, very useful, so it's 2 hits instead of 1. U-turn is a very, very standard move on Dragapult to run, especially on Choice Band or many other sets as well. It helps with pivoting and can set up a lot of great turns in your battle. This one is Terra Blast Ghost, so unfortunately with Dragapult, it's got a good move pool on the special side. It's got a lot more coverage, but on the physical side, it's not as good. It's actually quite limited. So apart from Dragon Darts and U-turn, there's really not a lot going for it. So I'm opting for Terra Blast Ghost here. It does get Phantom Force, but the thing about Phantom Force is if you indeed do have a choice band set here, you are locking yourself into one move, and that sometimes isn't all that good because this is a 2-turn move, right? You might be able to try some more gimmicky stuff like, say, Power Herb, to activate that right away for 1 turn, but after that, you're without an item then or a choice band, and yeah, it's a little bit of a shame it doesn't have any other good physical ghost moves, but that's why you can go with Terra Blast Ghost. That's going to work. The other move you can have on there is a priority move with we'll do Choice Band back on there as well. It does have a bit of priority, so it's got Quick Attack and it's got Sucker Punch, but most of the time, you're not really going to be needing to use Quick Attack on a Dragapult. It's a very fast Pokemon already, but it's just a lot of the time it is better than being locked into, like, say, a Sucker Punch for a Choice Band. So that's sort of why I opted to go for Quick Attack instead. EV spread, pretty standard. We got Max Attack and Max Speed, Jolly Nature. Its speed is very, very good. And the ability we got is Infiltrator. So this is going to be ignoring Substitute and Reflect and Light Screen, which are, very, very good stuff to get around there, and, Raw Veil and stuff like that, which is great, right? Now, another sort of set that you can run with this too, as I mentioned, was like a pivot or mix set. So a good item, especially in singles. The Choice Band one can absolutely be used in doubles, absolutely for sure. This is probably geared a little bit more towards singles, I would say, with heavy duty boots. So same kind of moves here, but I would get rid of Quick Attack and I'd opt to maybe put something on here. For example, like you could even go mixed here. You could adjust it to, like, say, Naive maybe, if you wanted to put a special move on there. Sometimes it's cool to put like Fire Blast on there, even with no EVs and special attack. It's kind of handy for like an incoming steel type Pokemon, say something that's going to wall your Dragon Darts and your U-turn, so it can be handy. And if you predict right, that could be handy as like a throw-on move there too. Another move that's quite good on it can be Hex. Hex is a pretty cool move because you can use it in combination with moves like Will-O-Wisp, which is a very, very interesting move on Dragapult. It can burn opposing Pokemon that are physical, and it's got reasonable. It's not like super. It's not going to die in one shot. It's got a little bit of bulk to it, nothing like super amazing, but it has enough. And especially if it's a physical attacker, you can burn them and then double base power on the Hex too. That's also prevalent for Thunder Wave as well. You can also use Thunder Wave, so if you want to, use that, it's definitely a possible thing to do. Another move you can put on there too, if you want it to be possibly like mixed, you could even go for Draco Meteor too. Obviously, you'd be adjusting the EVs, then you'd be making it special instead. So, yeah, that's another way you can run it, and U-turns is there for pivoting and for momentum on your team. So, that could definitely work too. So, a couple of options there for Dragapult for a choice band or a pivot sort of set. You could even go mix as well. We had a sort of a bit of a look at that. Now, the next set you can run, this can run a pretty decent Dragon Dance set. It's very fast anyway. It's already got a good attack stat. The thing about it is, once again, with Dragapult, it sort of falls a little bit short after a Dragon move and another coverage move, say Terra Blast Ghost. If you want to run Phantom Force, you can, but once again, you got to wait 2 turns, and then it becomes susceptible to getting fainted. So you are a little bit forced to go for Terra Blast Ghost there if you are going like fully physical. So Terra Ghost. The other move I go was Sucker Punch as well. So that might be useful for like, an opposing Dragapult. You can finish them off there too. And having priority move is also, always very handy. I've given this one clear body, so we don't want to have any stat drops for any physical attackers like Intimidate and other stuff like that. And also that stops you having any speed drops from like, say, Sticky Web and stuff like that, which is, very, very useful. I've given it Lumberry in case it gets statused at all, burned or paralyzed. Another item you can give it to for more damage output is Life Orb. That would definitely be good. Alternatively, you can go for Terra Dragon as well and have Terra Dragon Dragon Dance, which is still going to be very, very good too. Dragapult always has a lot of room to set up because it's a Ghost-type Pokemon, and it can scare a lot of threats out. So if you're just Dragon Dancing at the right time, so as long as you're not like Dragon Dancing against something that can do a lot of damage to you or one-shot you, you should be fine. Another option you could give it as well for a Terra. This is probably more of a defensive kind of Terra as well as an offensive one. Is Fairy. That can work as well. Another one is also Steel, especially being a defensive one, because it could draw out like, say, an Ice-type move. So you can go Terra Steel against an Ice-type and start Dragon Dance and get a free Dragon Dance up and stuff like that. And yeah, the only thing about Dragapult, if you run a physical set, you have to watch out for if you're not running Terra Ghost, is it can be walled by Steel very, very easily, because its physical move pool in terms of coverage is extremely shallow, right? In conversion to it's like, it's a special set which has enormous amounts of coverage. All right, so that's a Dragon Dance set. Let's have a look at some doubles and VGC play, and then we've got a couple more sets as well. This has so many sets I'm going to use, so I'm going to show you lots of ones. So for doubles, it can do a lot of things. I've seen physical choice bands. The choice band set I already talked about earlier on. From there, definitely you can use that. Another one you can use as well is a pivoting screen set, which is quite good because it's such a good Pokemon in terms of speed. So you can get up Speedy Reflex and Light Screens. You can do damage with Dragon Darts, and you can pivot out of there with U-turn and stuff. So if you've got any like Pokemon that have Intimidate or any other or Parting Shot, stuff like that, it can work very, very well there too. And it's going to sort of support any of other Pokemon on your team with Reflect and Light Screen. So dealing a bit of damage and making your sweeping Pokemon, a lot more tankier, right? Light Clay is the item to increase the Reflect and Light Screen for 8 turns instead of 5, and I'll put Clear Body on this as well. You could opt for Infiltrator. I kind of like Clear Body mostly in doubles. I feel like it's better, but Infiltrator can be handy if the opposing... it's like personal preference, really, if you sort of have that. Another interesting move... you can get it is Psychic Fangs. That can get around at least the screen stuff, but you probably run that on Clear Body, right? So it's not redundant. But that's another way you can run Dragapult. Here we go. This set's actually not too bad because it's pretty fun. I've used this a fair bit. This is like a Eject Pack Dragapult, which is not too bad at all. So we've got a Draco Meteor on there. So this gives you, with Draco Meteor and Eject Pack and U-turn, it gives you a lot of momentum and pivoting. So you've got Draco Meteor as a very powerful Dragon type move. So you can drop that, and as soon as you get the special attack drop, a jetpack will kick in, and your stats will be lowered, and you'll swap out. Then you can swap into another Pokemon. So it can be good as like a pivot Pokemon, so you can deliberately do big damage, and then automatically swap into a counter against the opponent, and then there's sort of force a swap as well, or sack a Pokemon off, right? So it puts you in a good position, and it's so fast, it's going to be going first. Plus, it's a ghost type, so it is immune to moves like Fake Out as well, which definitely helps if you're going to lead with it. I've also got U-Turn on there for very similar reasons, and I've got Hex and Will-O-Wisp on here too, so you can spread some burns and go for double base power Hex. You could run Shadow Ball on there as well. There's nothing wrong with that. And also, you could run Thunder Wave too. So alternatively, different things depending on what you're bringing on your team and stuff like that, right? So we got Terra Fairy on this one, and I had Terra Dragon on that. It sort of depends what your team needs or what you want on your Dragapult. It's got a lot in your Dragon, Ghost, Fairy, Steel, and all those sort of things there. Another way of using Dragapult too is a choice spec set, or you can actually use the eject button strategy with that too. So, as I was talking about before with Dragapult, it doesn't quite have as much special attack as attack, but it has a huge move pool in terms of coverage on the special side. So you can use like Drake or Meteor, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Fire Blast. That gives it like almost perfect coverage, right? So for Fire Blast for any steel types, you got Thunderbolt there for any flying types, bulky waters, etc. You got Shadow Ball as Ghost Stab, and opposing Ghost, which is really good too. And you got Draco Meteor just for some really big damage there. And with specs, you can actually use Draco Meteor twice as well. You're not sort of forced to go out of there. Or alternatively, you can run the eject pack too. This gives you a little bit less base power, but it gives you the freedom to have a swap and use all of your other moves too. Also, it makes knockoff not as powerful against Dragapult either, which is something that is around a lot on many different Pokemon. So let's have a look at some... Oh, I'll do my PIMPNITE special set, and then we'll talk about some team counters and teammates and stuff like that, and some other thoughts. So we've got a PIMPNITE special here. So I always like to put a PIMPNITE special in every moveset. These are some more definitely gimmicky movesets, but can be a lot of fun to do. So this is my my Dragapult, my salty Dragapult. So we've got Curse here to begin with. So when you use Curse on a Ghost type, it doesn't actually drop your speed and give you a buff in attack and defense of one stage. It actually, you lose half of your health, and it also puts a curse on the opponent, so they're losing a quarter damage every single turn. Now, I thought that'd be really nasty with Thunder Wave to paralyze them and Infestation to trap them in. So you could trap them in with Infestation, or if you feel like you can cause a swap, or you feel like you can tank a move, you can go for Infestation and then curse them, and then you can go for Rest to heal off any damage, and then Thunder Wave as well. Very, very gimmicky, but if you get the right luck with paralyzing and you get Infestation up, the opponent actually won't be able to swap out. They'll be trapped in, taking Infestation damage and, more importantly, curse damage as well. You've also got Infiltrator. Since we're running a lot of status moves here, that's going to be ignoring Substitute and Reflecting Light Screen, other things like that, which definitely could stop that. So a really, really scummy set that's going to cause a lot of salt. I put Bright Powder on there too, so you might get a miss here and there that could be important when you're trying to heal off or setting up Thunder Wave or Curse. The EV spread, I've given it max health and max speed, so you want to be going very fast, at least at the beginning. And then you want to have a bit of bulk about you as well. You could, for argument's sake, you could dip the speed back a bit and give yourself a little bit more bulk in defense, because one Thunder Wave, you're going to be outspeeding them regardless. But maybe initially you need that speed, so I feel like Timid will work for that one too. But a little bit of a gimmicky set. Let's have a look at some teammates and other Pokemon that could definitely work well against Dragapult. So we'll do... Let's do some teammates that would work well first. So a good support Pokemon, of course, for especially in doubles, is going to be Amoonguss too. That's going to be able to sponge a lot of those with redirection, with Rage Power. So say if you got a Dragon Dance set, that's going to be quite good. Or if you want to use like Hex or Will-O-Wisp, that can be very, very good at the same time too. You've got some other good ones. Probably the best partner, I reckon, for Dragapult is Goldengo, just due to its typing. Apart from the ghost typing, of course, you've got steel typing, so you can swap into ice type moves, dragon type moves, and it can deal with some of those other threats as well. And you also have good as gold, which can be very, very, handy at the same time. And also fairy type Pokemon too for Dragapult. It can swap into them and threaten them with like Make It Rain and stuff like that. I've done a Goldengo guide if you want to check that out already. So that's a pretty good one too. Another good one as well would be Power. Just thinking of that. Not so much for the fairy type weakness, but for any other opposing ghost type Pokemon, it can be very, very useful there as well. And real high damage output too. So swap into ghost type moves, and it can threaten with a dark type move like Crunch and Sucker Punch and stuff like that. So it's pretty useful. Plus, being 4 times weak to fighting, you can swap into Dragapult too. Makes quite a good little combination there of Pokemon on your team, right? So some pretty good counters. There's like Dragapult can fit in most teams. It's extremely versatile. Just you sort of just have to see what moveset you're running on it, and then you can kind of go from there and decide what is going to work, right? So Flutter Mane I was going to say some great counters are going to be Flutter Mane. It's just a very scary Pokemon for Dragapult. Moonblast, Shadow Ball. Really, really high speed as well. I mean, Dragapult has great speed. It has a little bit more speed, but quite often, a lot of the time, Flutter Mane will have Booster or have Sun Up, so that's going to be boosting its speed and outspeeding Dragapult, unless Dragapult is running a Choice Scarf set, which, a lot of the time can be a waste. Another good one in terms of physical attackers, I'm thinking Azumarill. Yeah, so Azumarill can swap into those dragon moves, like any sort of moves that it learns are not very good, except Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt's probably the only thing that can hit Azumarill, but apart from that, it's a very big counter, like Huge Power Azumarill. That would be a good counter too. And some other, like Dark type Pokemon. I'm thinking we got like maybe Roaring. Actually, Roaring Moon would be a good counter as well. So Roaring Moon would be a good counter to Dragapult too, because of its dark typing, and actually a lot of the moves it can counter them too. So I'd say that's a couple of counters there. There are other ghost Pokemon and such like that, but most of the time you'll find with ghost Pokemon it outspeeds them. Another good one, obviously Calyrex is a very good counter as well. It's faster. And depending on what rule set you're playing too. So Calyrex will just demolish Dragapult all the time, and you can continue to get boost up it. But then again, that demolishes every single kind of Pokemon, right? So as well as that, priority moves. So we've got Shadow Sneak Pokemon. You got a couple there. Ceruledge can threaten that as well. Mimikyu. Another good counter to Dragapult. I'm just typing in some moves, like any other priority moves. So you got Sucker Punch Pokemon, King Gambit. There's a good amount of counters there for that as well. So that's how I would get around Dragapult. Now Dragapult, it's pretty easy to tell what set it's going to run as well. Just judging on the damage calc, so you pretty much just find out what moveset it is, and then go from there and counter it. Right? That's probably how I would actually play this for sure. Now I was thinking some other movesets that we could have a look at here, because it is a very, very, very versatile Pokemon. Very, very good. Speaking of his abilities too, Curse Body. It is a gimmicky ability too. Like that's probably the most gimmicky ability. So it's either Clear Body or Infiltrator. Curse Body is like, there's not a lot of point using it. These are like going to be better in like every single instance. So I just thought I'd mention that there. So let's have a look at the status moves again. I might be able to have some more ideas or such like that. It can baton pass if if you're playing like rules where you're allowed to baton pass. You've got disable. You can run an annoying disable Thunder Wave set. I have seen a few of those, but they're sort of few and far. D-Dance, we went over that. Screener, we went over that already. It does get Substitute as well. It can be a bit of a pain with Substitute. Sub, Hex, Thunder Wave, Will-O-Wisp, stuff like that. What else does it get? It does get Helping Hand and Dragon Cheer. So you might be able to make like a tanky set and doubles and make use of these sort of moves, but I don't know. You might be able to slot it onto like, you know, this kind of set here, like a setup set. I don't know. You might be able to get rid of U-turn, but getting rid of U-turn is, I don't know. It's not all that good. You have to have some kind of, you know, solid strategy going in with that. What else we got here? And then we sort of, yeah, we don't have too much of it. We got Helping Hand and stuff, but most of the time I would be using it as like an offensive Pokemon, whether it's physical or special. That's probably where its roles work the best. And then, or if you're going to do like support, add, you know, maybe put like one Thunder Wave or Will-O-Wisp on there. It might be like useful. Let's have a look at its physical. So this is what I was talking about before with its physical move pool. It's got a better attack, but it's very limited. So it does get Acrobatics, which could, I did talk about this before, it could work with like a Power Herb and Phantom Force, but Acrobatics doesn't really give you a hell of a lot, like really, in terms of coverage. Body Slam Double Edge, so it does get Dragon Claw. There's no real reason to use that. No reason to use that. Dragon Darts, that's the only that's the best physical move to use. It does get Outrage, which is a bit more powerful. The only time I would use Outrage, for example, would be on a physical set. Let's just pretend this is a physical set for a second. That Choice Band set we were talking about before. This is the only time I would even consider using Outrage. I really wouldn't consider using it in any other point because there's like no reason to. There's literally no reason to. I'd probably go jolly on that actually. So we could pretend that's a physical set there that could possibly work. So we've got that, and the only thing about Outrage is you can't pick your target, especially in doubles, right? But in singles you can, but that leaves you vulnerable once the Outrage reaches Confusion, or the opponent can just swap in a Fairy. So you sort of have to be a little bit mindful about that when using Outrage. Most of the time, Outrage isn't very good. So we got Dragon Tail. I don't think there's much point using Dragon Tail. You might have a phasing set, I don't know, with like Toxic Spikes and Stealth Rocks and Spikes on the field. That could possibly work. Psychic Fangs, there's not a lot of point using that unless you're running a different ability. U-turn is on pretty much every set. And yeah, you've got some other like sort of gimmicky moves here as well. You might be able to do some fun flinching sets with Bite or whatever like that. Or Breaking Swipe could work too. In doubles, you might be able to like a screens and Breaking Swipes and something like that. That might be able to work, but very, very barren. And then we have a look at its special. Like, look at its... It doesn't have a lot of moves either, but it's got enough coverage. So, you've got Draco Meteor. It does get Dragon Pulse too. But most of the time, you're going to be wanting to hit hard with Draco Meteor and swapping out of U-turn. So Draco Meteor U-turn, or Draco Meteor, then Draco Meteor with a Choice Specs, or then Draco Meteor Eject Pack, something like that. That generally overall is better than Dragon Pulse because you lack damage output, and which can result in your Dragon Ball fainting. So that's probably why I'd go for Draco Meteor. Fire Blast is great. I'd be inclined to use Fire Blast all the time unless... I don't think there's too much point in using Flamethrower because this has pretty good accuracy. But that's more comes down to personal choice, but you may as well get that extra base power. And then you got Hex, which is great for like, say if you got any Toxic Spikes Pokemon, that's going to be useful as well. You can get double base power, and it can also spread status itself. It does get Hydro Pump, which can be a good surprise, but it doesn't really offer too much coverage. Nightshade gets fixed damage. Shadow Ball is going to be on every special set. Surf could be interesting in doubles. Say if you've got a rain team, you might be able to make use of Surf on there. Terra Blast, you could have Terra Blast Ghost, and that's used a lot in Terra Blast, maybe Terra Blast Fairy. Thunder might work on a rain team as well. So if you're running something in doubles with Drizzle, that could work too. Thunderbolt's used a lot in Choice Spec sets, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the rest of these. Solar Beam, you might be able to make use of in a Sun team, but you're not hitting a lot that you can't hit already for Dragapult. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Dragapult. I hope this guide was involved and you learned something, or if you got anything else to add that maybe Dragapult sets that you use or you've tried before, put it below in the comment section. Overall, Dragapult is a wonderful Pokemon that can fit onto any team. It's incredibly versatile. It's got great typing, incredible speed. It's a great support Pokemon, a good physical Pokemon. It can do so many things. So if you're looking for a Pokemon on your team, Dragapult could absolutely be the one. If there's a Pokemon you want to see me cover to that I haven't before, check out the playlist. Put it below in the comments if you enjoyed it, if you learned something new, want to support the channel, hit that like button, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.